This video is all about using Rhino to create some landforms and different landscape elements, and basically we'll cover some common problems that we are facing in our class. So let's get into it. Before doing anything in Rhino, we have to do some housekeepings, such as setting up the aliases just as AutoCAD, or kind of setting up the units and things like that. So let's go through those first. So in order to set up our aliases as AutoCAD, I'd have to go to Chrome or any other browser and search for AutoCAD alias for Rhino. And here I will get some results. And here in the wiki.macnil.com, it's the official site for Rhino helps. There are several versions. So as I'm using Windows, I'll set up my aliases for Windows. I'll just press download, and it will try to save a zip file, which I'll save in a desired folder. So here I can save that file. It will show as a zip right there. I'll unzip it like this, and after unzipping it, I'll get a text file like this. So now all I have to do is show this file inside Rhino as aliases. So I go inside Rhino. This is the options button. I'll press it. This pop-up will show up, and here I'll go inside alias and press import, and show the file directory for the ACAD alias for rhino.txt. Double click on it. It says 120 alias found, 120 imported, OK to all, and then I'll press OK. Now I have every shortcut as AutoCAD, such as PL or polyline or UN for units and things like that. Another part of housekeeping is setting up the units. So in order to do that, all we have to do is just type in UN, and this will come up. And from millimeters, we just have to set feet and decimal feet. Or if we have any CAD drawings, set up the units as just as like the AutoCAD that we have set. But if we are using the template from department, it will be decimal feet. So this is the correct unit to set. So we'll press OK after that, and it might say that model units change from millimeter to foot, scale model by a scale factor. But as we have not done anything, pressing yes or no will not result into anything. So I'll just press yes in this case. And now I will try to import my model or my drawing. For me, any design starts from a sketch drawing. So here I have done a very rough sketch of the site and what I want to do, which contains of a playground right here, and on top of it a fruit tree. Here's a bridge, here's some shrub with some gravel pathways, here's another playground, and here a path runs over it, and here is an underground tunnel. There are some tires which have some jumping elements on them, and here's a flat path, and here's a mulch ground, and here's a swing. So all I have to do now is import this drawing inside Rhino, and in order to do that, all I have to do is just click and drag this JPEG inside Rhino. This will bring out this pop-up. So I will import it as a picture. I could import it as anything else, but for now picture will suffice. So I'll just press OK, and I'll try to bring out the top for clarity. So I'll just double click on top right here, and I just click and drag. So this is how I have imported this sketch. The next stage is to understand how to scale this image correctly. So in order to get your images in a correct scale in Rhino, I'd suggest that you go to ArcGIS Arts, get into the right spot of where we want our maps to be. But here are some layers that I have opened up before, so I'll have to close them for another project. So sometimes take a while. So in search bar, I just wrote Texas Tech University. This brings me here. You can see my base map is a bit different. So I will change it into imagery with labels, or I usually do imagery with labels. And now let's zoom into our site, which is the CDRC of Texas Tech University. And to get a correct dimension of the site, I'll just use the measure tool, and inside that there's a line tool. So I'll just randomly measure something and it will give me a measurement. So after that I'll share and save image, which will bring up this, and I'll kind of save it where I want it to be saved. So that would be Texas Tech University XR Lab, and here I'll save it as a reference. So that's it for saving. Now all we have to do is import this reference image just like before, and this will pop up again. I'll press OK and click on that. Now for some of you this might not be feet, this might be meters, but Rhino is pretty smart and it can work with different units at the same time. But I have changed ArcGIS Earth into feet, so for me it's feet. So you can see that the measurement is 33.28 feet. I'll draw a line that will be 33.28 feet and press enter and click. So that will end a line at exact 33.28 feet. But if it was meters, all I'd have to do is line and then 33.28, and instead of feet I'll just press M for meters and it will draw 33.8 meters line. But I won't do that now because I already have the feet. So all I have to do now is use the orient command. It's ORIENT. It's kind of the same as AutoCAD align. So I'll just type in orient and it asks me to select the reference point 1. That will be this point here, and it asks me to for the reference point 2 it will be the end point of the 33.28 feet. And now I have to select the target point 1 and target point 2. But before I set the target point 2, you can see that the image remains the same and it's not scaled. That is because I have not set up the scale, and it will just align itself and will not scale. So in order to make it scaled, all I have to do is click on the scale and turn on the 3D scale so that the whole image is scaled proportionally. I'll do that. And now I can basically scale this image the exact right scale. Now that we have done this, we can move the image to somewhere else and try to scale our sketch as the scaled map. And I always prefer having a map underneath my drawing so that it gives me a sense of reference. Now all I have to do is kind of select some known points, like I know this point is this specific point in our map, and this point would be the other point at the end of the fence. So all I have to do is orient this image with those two lines and we will be set to go. So let's type in orient one more time. This time we can see that the scale equals 3D, so I don't have to change it again. All I have to do is set up 2 reference points, and you can see that I cannot go to that point because my ortho is on. So I'll just press F8, and if you have laptop, you might have to press function and F8, so keep that in mind, and click on the other point. So we have our 2 reference points, and now all we have to do is select 2 target points, just like that, and we will have our site. So this is our site at the proper scale. So that's pretty easy. Now, after setting up this image, we can do various things with it, like we can change the object transparency. By default, this is the object properties menu, and this is the layers. So at first, let's see what we can do with the object properties. So right here inside materials, inside object properties, there is object transparency, so we can set it up. And if we see anything wrong with our drawing, we can kind of change that as we see fit. So let's see if our drawing is okay or not. I'll turn up the transparency a little more and try to see if it's okay. So for me it's okay now, but if you did not get it at the first try, you can reorient it with any other reference point to your liking, and you can basically change it and turn anything on and off. Now let's go to layers and let's set up some new layers. So in order to set some new layers, we just press this icon right here, which is new layer. So I will keep it very simple, but you can use the department template if you want to, so that's alright too. So for me, I'll set up a sketch layer, a map layer, and I'll kind of set them under a layer that's reference for me. So I'll just select those 2 layers and drag and drop them so that they become a sub layer. And now I'll send the sketch to the sketch layer by selecting the sketch and right clicking on the sketch layer and change object layer, just like that. And do the same for the map. So I'll right click on the map and change the object layer for the selected map. I can turn them off or on as I see fit. So that's basic layering. Now I will start doing some drawings and making things from scratch. But if you have some CAD drawings, you can just import them by clicking and dragging, or go to File, Import, and import your DWG file. That's okay. It will bring up all the layers that you might have inside your AutoCAD drawing or Civil 3D drawing. Now, before I jump into the good bits, there's just one small housekeeping that I need to do, and that is setting up the materials. Just keep in mind that our ultimate target is to send our final 3D into Lumion to get some photorealistic renderings. And in order to do that, we would have to have some different material sets for different types of objects that we are trying to build. So you can see that I have made some progress on the layerings right here. You can use this file if you want to for the layers, but I'd really suggest to go with the department template, and that would be much more easier. But whatever you use, the thing that you have to modify in Rhino is the materials, that is right here. So you can see that it's not properly visible, but if I select one layer, you can see that there is a small circle inside the material. So I try to change the basic colors of those. We can go into the very nitty-gritty of the material setup if we want to, but our ultimate material setup will be done in Lumion, so this is just for setting up different material sets. So all we have to do is click on that small circle. That will bring up a small pop-up like that. So by default, everything is a white material, so we don't have to use that. We can basically click here and use a new material and create a custom material just like that. And now we would have to kind of change the colors for different types of materials and not actually create different textures. So setting up different colors will do well, just like SketchUp import for Lumion. So I'll just click on the color, and as it's a ground turf, I'll change the color into a green one, and that's okay. And I'll do for everything else here. So I'll create a new material which is custom and change the color for each of the materials. And I'd suggest you do the same for each material. It will save a lot of time later on, and we don't have to give each object their own material if you don't want to. So for mulch, I will give it a kind of brownish material, and it will be something yellowish if you use a concrete or something. Light gray is fine. Tunnel, I like my tunnels vibrant, so I'll give them bright red. Boundary railing will be black. It's the existing boundary railing, so I will not mess it up. And bridge would be woods. So for deck, that would be one type of wood, which would be kind of brownish or light brown. And for the bridge railing, I'll do something else. A darker brown, I guess. Oops. Yep, that does it. So you can see that I have set up different materials. I'll also create a new material for a sketch, or I'll set up a new material for line drawing, and you can go there and create new sub layers inside line drawing. But for now I won't do that, so I guess that's fine. Okay, so that's all we would have to do. Now we have to do the line drawing, but if you already have a line drawing, you can skip this part and go ahead. So I'll just have to draw some polylines for different elements of the landscape or our design. So in order to make our line drawing layer active, I'll just click right in the column of that tick mark right here. So that will set it as the active layer. Now I'll just start with some polyline. I will not try to explain it because all of you are quite familiar with line drawing in AutoCAD. So I'll just go ahead and finish what I have started. So let's start with the 3D stuff. In order to make a landform 3D, my base idea is to create a base plane and then cut out the rest of the stuff from it. So I'll start with the ground turf right here and create a flat rectangular plane. In order to do that, I'll use this command right here, which is rectangular plane corner to corner, and create a flat rectangular plane that exceeds the existing site. Now all I have to do is rebuild this. So why do I need to rebuild this? I could have kind of drawn the contour lines and make loft out of them, but that sometimes does not look really natural. So I try to keep my surfaces as connected as possible. That's why I prefer making a flat plane and then subdivide it in multiple subdivisions and then create the mounts out of them. So in order to rebuild my base plane, all I have to do is select the base plane, type in rebuild and press enter. That will bring out this pop-up. Now all I have to do is kind of understand how much subdivision I need in U and V, which is kind of like this direction and this direction. So let's say I might need 10 by 10 subdivisions, just like that, and I'll try to look at the preview. I think I am good to go with this, so I'll press enter, and that will make it subdivided into 10 by 10 subdivisions. So we can see it here, and as we are in top view, you might just see a grid instead of a surface, but it is indeed a surface. If you go into this arrow and press the shaded mode, you can see that it is a surface. So let's start with making the mounts. So in order to make the mounts, just select the surface, press F10, and these control points will pop up. Now you can select all the control points you need and kind of move them up and down to get your desired mount. So you can either pull them up by dragging this. I'll just change it into shaded mode for my convenience, or if you don't like that and want to be more precise, click on the arrow and type in the height you want. In my mind I had it 4 feet, so I'll type 4 feet and then enter. That will create something like this, and so on. Now you can do other stuff with control points, such as you can create new control points from this. So you can go to edit, and inside control points you can see that you can insert king, insert knot. Both of them are different forms of control point. If you want to insert a knot, or you can insert even control points, so it's right here. So if you want to insert a control point, it will work something like this, and it will create a control point column or row by changing the direction right here in the command bar, just where you click on, but it will certainly change the shape of your existing form. But if you want to keep your form and create some control points that are not in your exact click point, you can cancel this one out and go to edit while selecting the mount, and go to the control points and kind of insert a knot. That will not change the shape of your base plane, but it will not be exactly where you click on. So for me, I might stick with insert control point. I can also type them and kind of make an outline of my mount that I had in mind initially, so that it can kind of be. But keep in mind that if you insert more and more control points, your editing will become a bit more complex and it will take more memory of your computer. Just a pointer to be kept in mind. So keep them at an optimized state. So I'll do that. I'll try to make them as accurate as I can, and sometimes you might have to move them around like this, and so far so on. Just part of life. Nothing is perfect the first time. Just keep that in mind and don't be frustrated. Keep doing your work as you are supposed to, and everything will sort itself out. No problem. So also drag these control points somewhere around here. I'm trying to create an outline just like this. I might drag this control point right here, and now all I have to do is basically create some movements like that. Yep, just like that, so that this mount is outlined very roughly, and somewhere around here. You might have to do this too to make your mounts a bit more accurate. Don't be afraid of moving things around, play around them. So yes, I think that does the trick. So I will move things around. Just one thing, if you are intended to move things around, you can see that the surface is just a bit below the point that you have just moved, so it's not exactly 4 feet. This point is at 4 feet, this is not. So you can do two things to remedy that. You can either select a control point just like this, and then select the control point and type in the command wait. That will kind of create a window for setting up the influence that your control point might have on your surface. So you can kind of change this slider up and down and see what it does. By maximum it's given 10, but I think I can increase that, and you can see that it's exactly where I want it to be. So you can do that if you want to, or the other way to do that is create a reference line which is exactly 4 feet tall, and then create a horizontal line out of it. Oops. And try to move this control point until the surface is kind of where you want it to be. So yes, those are the two ways you could move your surfaces up and down. So now you can see that I have made our ground turf like this, and we have two mounts where I want them to be. Now I will begin with the paths. They are kind of in a way the most difficult part to understand, but also another way it's quite easy. So in order to start with the paths, all I have to do is trim our ground plane out of. In order to start with the paths, all I have to do is trim out the ground plane where there is no path, and then create a certain thickness so that the path follows the ground plane, as we have done the grade change already. So at first I will hide my ground plane and try to look at my line drawings now. So I'll hide my drawing 2 at the moment, select the line drawing like this, and try to understand where the path is. So I can see that this is the path right here. I have made it with open polyline, which might be the case for some of you, but if you have done it with closed polylines, you're set to go. But there's a neat trick to set up a closed polyline on the fly. So I'll change the layer as line drawing now because I'm working in the line drawing. I will type in curve boolean, which is kind of the boundary outline command in AutoCAD. So I'll type in curve boolean. This will show with this command line. So for my case, I will try to combine region, which is already set as yes. If you see it no, just click on it. And for steps, you might have to set it as no for different steps. So keep in mind that you might have to use this command in the cases of steps as well. Now all I have to do is click inside the path, and it will show me with outline of the path. So I'll press space again, and I have a closed polyline of the path. Now in order to unhide, I just have to right click on this light bulb right here, and while selecting this path, I will have to select the surface as well. I will try to isolate this by going inside this small arrow under the hide command and click on isolate objects, which is the square with the light bulb right here. So it will isolate that closed polyline with the ground surface. I will copy the ground surface at the same place, so I am typing in CP, or you can type in CO, anything works, and set the reference point to one corner and click on the same point to keep it at the same place. Now I just have to select one of the surfaces out of the two that I just created and select the closed polyline once again, and then isolate them to keep things clean. Select the closed polyline and type in TR and then space and click and drag outside. So now you can see that we have this. This follows the ground plane exactly, but it has removed the other sides of the ground plane. So this is a very powerful command in Rhino that you can always work with 2D line drawings with the 3D shapes that you have created and trim or extend things simultaneously with 2D and 3D. So this is a pretty neat trick. And in order to make things a bit more thick, as you can see that this ground plane has no thickness at all you have to do is type in offset surface. So offset surface, and then select your ground plane, press space, and for my case I think 1 inch of thickness would be good enough, or even less. So 1 inch is good for me now, and you're good to go. You have a 1 inch thick pathway. I'll right click and you can see the path stays right on top of your surface. So yeah, that's pretty easy. And I will do the same for every other thing. In order to make the mulch, I will do the same. I will kind of select all the line drawings. You can use the selection filter as you see fit. So the selection filters are right here. You can click on this small arrow right here and select the curves. Type in curve booleans once again, and then click inside the mulch surface. Press enter, and then select your base surface. Isolate both of them. Copy it in the same place, basically the same stuff, and select, isolate once again, select the mulch surface, trim, and you have your mulch surface. You can give it thickness as well. So I'll type in offset surface once again and give it a bit less thickness, so it's 0.5 inch thick. Now you can do cool stuff with your lines as well. You can offset the line to make a small kind of level variation from the ground so that your mulch don't go away. So I will give it a 3 inches thickness and then select both of them and then extrude them with solid none here, right here. So that's how you create things. Now you have to kind of give your surfaces into the right layers so that you can assign materials later on. So I will change the mulch into the mulch layer like this, and I should have done something like boundary or wall inside. So low height wall, and change the color as I have done in my previous sessions like this. It doesn't matter if they are the same color, but you just have to change the material ID. That's why I'm changing the colors. Change object layer just like that, and right click to get everything back again. So that's how you do different ground cover as well as paths. I will do the same for the gravels as well. So I will just select my line drawing, press curve, boolean, and now I will have to select through the gravels like this, and if I'm okay with it, I will kind of do the same as I've done before twice now, and isolate the ground plane and the gravel. Select the ground plane, copy it once again. In the same place, I will isolate one surface and one gravel, take it away, and then select the line work and trim, and change the layer. Now I will give it a small thickness. Just like that. So you have your gravel surface like that. Now it is also a good idea if you kind of remove the portions of the ground plane where you have put different types of ground covers. So I will try to do that. I'll select the curves and select the ground plane and then isolate them. And now I'll select the closed polylines and trim the ground planes where there is no turf. That way I'll be able to have some 3D grass. Also, it will not coincide with the paths or gravels, so that will be really helpful for us. So I'll do exactly that. So you can see that I've made some punches around the ground cover, and there are my small things like that. Now, a common problem in our class is how do we make underground tunnels. So in this case, I'll try to make a simple tunnel with pipe command, but you can also try sweep command if you have a different cross section for your pipe. So all I have to do is create a curve that follows the center line of our pipe very roughly, because the sketch is very rough. If you had a CAD drawing, you could just offset. And just one thing, as we have done some 3D surfaces around this line, if we kind of keep our snaps on, could snap onto 3D surface, which will ultimately result into a 3D curve. So I will click on the project under the snaps. That will kind of create a 3D snap but in 2D planes. So all the curves I'll draw will be drawn in flat plane, the XY plane. So I will just draw the curve like this and select that curve, go to perspective and type in pipe. So if I type in pipe, it will tell me to select the start radius. For me, I think that will be somewhere around 1.5 feet. And the end radius, if you want the tunnel to be in varied radius, you could do that, but I'll keep it 1.5 radius. And that's that. Now, the positioning of the pipe might be a bit difficult to understand. So just one thing to keep in mind, that each of the objects that you are dealing with have to be intersected properly. Otherwise, it will not be kind of trimmed. All I'm trying to do is trim the ground plane with the pipe and then trim the pipe with the ground plane. So I will pull it up a little, and you can see that it intersects with the road. Now we have to fix that, don't we? So the pipe would have to be kind of a 3D, the pipe would have to be based on a 3D line which will recess somewhere around here, go down and go up again. So I'll delete this pipe and go to the top. The line is still there. I'll select the line, and before I press the pipe command now, I'll start recording history. That way, if I change the line later on, the pipe will change alongside with it. So now, if I press pipe, I will not change anything. My start radius will be 1.5 and radius will be 1.5 feet, and press enter. And now I'll select that point because we can clearly see that that point is intersecting with our road. So I'll pull it down. You can see the pipe moves with it. So now I'll select both the, I can kind of just select the line and move it around to see where the pipe fits. And if I move just the line now, the pipe will move with it. So that's a good. So adjusting the tunnel would be something like this. If you cannot see your control points properly, like I did before, you could just go here and go to the ghosted mode. That will give you something like this. And then you can easily drag stuff to your liking very easily. And just a small suggestion would be just drag the line and not the pipe itself. That will keep your drawing cleaner. And if you move the pipe, it will kind of break the operation of record history. So I would not do that. So yeah, you can make a pipe like this if you want to. Just readjust it a little more, and this is our pipe right there. Now the task is kind of making the pipe into a tunnel. So all we have to do now is explode the pipe by selecting it and then pressing X, enter. You can see that the explode command broke history on one object, but that's okay because we don't need our record history now. And now all I have to do is select the pipe and trim the ground plane with it by pressing here and then space or enter, and then clicking inside the ground plane. And you can see that it creates a hole. It might be really helpful to get into the shaded mode, and then click inside this side again. And now I'll have to cut out the extension of the pipe that is outside the surface. So I'll select the surface now and trim the pipe with the surface. So you can see that we have a very interesting underground tunnel like that inside our mount. Now, next thing in line is to how to make a bridge like this. So in order to do that, all I need to do is isolate this line, because I will basically work with this line. Go to the perspective and kind of try to make this bridge arched, but arched. I'll try to make this bridge and make this bridge arched. And in order to do that, all I have to do is select the control points and kind of make them something like this. Very easy. Select the points number and do that. Yep, that will make a nice arched path curve. I will exclude this polyline, delete this line, and offset that line over here so that I get the same exact arch. I did the offset by pressing O, and you can see that the offset line is something like this. That works. Now all I have to do is explode all the lines, select those two lines and press loft, and it will create something like this. It will bring out a pop-up like this, like it's supposed to, and you have a nice arched and you have a nice arched bridge like this. Now the thing is, it doesn't really look like a bridge, so you might want to make it a deck type thing, and you can do that too if you want. All you have to do then is kind of go to the top, create a rectangular surface, and then array that surface along your path curve. So let me do that as well. Something like this would suffice. So I have created a rectangle like this. I will extrude this curve somewhere around 2 inches. That's too much. Let's give it 5 inches. Yes, that works. I kind of rotate it somewhere like this. And then I'll array curve right here. Select the, it says me to select the objects for arraying, so I'll select the wooden log, I'll press space, select the path curve, I'll do that, and then you can see it has created 2 instances, but I need way more than that. So here it says to array by number or items. For me it would be number. You can do it by items. I'll try out different objects. 200 is too much. I'll try, I'll just Ctrl Z and select, do the thing all over again. Array curve, select the objects to array, space, select the path curve, and then I'll change the item number into somewhere 100 and see what happens. It's still too much. I'll change it one more time. 50. No, still too much. 35. It's somewhere going back and forth, so I think 35 is good enough. That works for me. So yes, that's something good enough and will work in my case. You can do either way. And if you don't want to do this, you could just do the loft and give it offset surface and then assign a deck texture on it in Lumion. So that works. So I'll select all of these objects like this and get them inside my bridge deck layer like this. So now they're inside my deck layer. Yes, they are. Now I'll create a railing for my bridge. In order to do that, I'll do kind of the same thing. I'll create a cylinder like this and extrude that. At a desired height, and then I'll copy that from top to here. Select both of them at once and try to array curve like that. So now I don't need that many, so I'll just decrease the number into 5. See what happens, and if I find them okay, they're not quite okay. So I'll change the orientation into no rotation. That way they are straight. I'll do that. I can clearly see that this side did not work out right, so I'll do that one more time with this side and that side side by side. So now I'm selecting just one side of the pole, type in array curve, and this type of mistakes can happen time to time, so don't be afraid of the software and try to handle it your way. It will listen to you, don't worry. So that will be the object array curve, select the array, and it does it nicely. Now all I have to do is select the railing base points. I'll press Alt and move them so that they are in their correct position, and I'll create some railing with rectangular section. Go to the top, create one rectangle with kind of 3 inches by 3 inches cross section. I think that's a bit too much. I'll decrease that a little. So that works for me. I'll go to the perspective and rotate it like this and move that right here. Now I will remove the project snap. That way I can move freely in 3D and do something like that. That is a weird position. I'll move it somewhere. You kind of have to try to get everything in the right place, so don't worry that I'll copy the same thing over here, and I think this should work. Still not quite right. That to get this in the middle, and then sweep 1. I'll just type in sweep. This will give me these two options, so I'll go for sweep 1, and it asks me to select the rail. I'll do that and select cross section curve. If I'm done, I'll press space twice and this will happen. I'll cap that and it's done. I'll do the same for this side. Sweep 1, I'll select the rail, I select the cross section curve, and it's done. And I'll cap it one more time to make it a closed path. So that's a nice bridge. Now we could kind of copy this to different levels to make it a bit more realistic, like that. So that works. That's a quite nice bridge. Select those and get them under the bridge railing, like this. So that's a bridge. Now that we have our bridge, let's move on to some interesting play elements. There are certain aspects of some play elements. Just to keep in mind that if your play element is a cataloged play element and it's found in markets, there's a very high possibility that you might find it online. So let's do that first for our swings. So here I'll type in 3dwarehouse.com, which is a model shop for SketchUp. You have to sign in. I'll use my personal Google account in order to do that. You can open up that too. You can use any account you want, but I really recommend you open an account in Trimble. That's a free account and you have almost unlimited access of models. So I will type in swing. There are certain ways to find models. So here are products that are cataloged. You can download any one of them, but if you don't like it, I don't try to find my desired models in the models tab. I directly go to the collections, and here, in my humble opinion, are way more models than here's are usually good collection of models, and you will find better quality models than the models tab. It's kind of ironic, I'm sorry. So I think this would suit my desire, so I'll just download it into a previous version. It will get downloaded somewhere. Please keep your files organized, and then just click and drag this object inside Rhino, and you can see it shows an error right away. You cannot drag and drop a file while a command is running, so get out of any command you might be running and then drag and drop like this, and don't open the file, you'll lose everything. So just import the file, and here this pop-up shows up. So instead of mesh, I'll import it as trimmed planes, and I will have it somewhere, usually in 0 plane. So yes, and you can see some problems right away, that like there are no lines for the swings to be hanged on, so you might have to draw those time to time. So I'll just go to front and go to my swing set and then create a line for my swings to hang on to and make them pipes. And it will be really thin, so they might be 0.25 inches radius, and I'll kind of create them like a black material. So I will get them inside my, you can create a new layer, but right now that's really not that important, so you can keep them in any layer because they are going to be black anyway. So I will get them inside a layer that is already black. I can see that boundary railing is black. I'll change the object layer like that and then move them into a right position like that, and that works. So I'll copy those like this. So if you can't see an object in any specific viewport, you can always press Z space S space for zoom to your selection. Z is for zoom, S is for selection. And if you want to see everything in your model space, you just press Z space E space for zoom to extend all. So that's something to be kept in mind while importing stuff. And then copy your pipes to different part of the model, and you are set to go. And sometimes you may ask why you cannot see the material that was supposed to be here. So if you want to see that, just go to the perspective arrow and go to the rendered mode, and you'll see the materials are there. So don't worry, I just do this to keep my memories saved and make my works a little more faster. Now, one important thing to be kept in mind is that whatever you import might not be in a component mode, so you might have to group them time to time. And keep that in mind for your complex layer too. Like for the bridge, you could group that as well. So I'll just type in group, that will make it into a group. I did not press block because blocks are sometimes problematic in my experience. So I will just move that swing right here and then rotate that swing into my desired position and where I want it to be. And here I have my swing, just like that, very easy. Now, as I had some wheels for jumping around and making kind of maze, I'll search for wheels here and do the same thing, go inside collection directly and search for a nice wheel. Let's see which one fits our need. Nice little wheel. This should do a nice job if we can get it. So I'll just download a lower version in the same folder and then drag and drop it inside Rhino with trimmed planes. And press Z space S space to see where it went, and I'll kind of delete those parts so that it stays kind of like this, and make I don't have to do anything, it's actually really nice. So I will rotate it 90 degrees so that it stays horizontal, and go to the top view and move it into my desired place, just like that. So you can see it fits my design perfectly. I copy it several times according to my plan, and I can later on scale or rotate this if I want to. Like right here, I could go to perspective and kind of rotate that bit a little. I could rotate it a little bit more. Yep. And that for me is actually very nice. I will kind of group them again. While doing this, keep in mind that if your imported files are really heavy, it will slow down Rhino. So do try to avoid that. And I think this will let's tweak it a little bit more, just like that. I'll go to the from, Z space, S space, and bring them up just like that. And I'll try to group them here in ground plane now, so that works. And group. Now for the last pay element, I'd like to build a tipi right here, and in my experience I could not find a nice tipi from warehouse, so I will not bother again and try to build it anyway. So in order to do that, I'll have to set the height. Let's say the overall height is 8 feet. So I'll press F8 and create an 8 feet tall line. And I think a 2 feet extension for the tipi would look nice. So I'll kind of extend that line 2 feet more. And now I'll create a 2 feet line here. I like to make my stuff from scratch. So that's that. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, you can. Rhino is a really powerful software for those. So let's think of the radius for the tipi as 3 feet. Yes, that should work really nicely. I'll just create a line like this. Get rid of the F8 and create something like this. That works, I guess. Yep. Now I'll go to the top view and kind of rotate that line while copying it. You can do that quite easily. So I'll also try to create a point in that intersection for my own reference. So I'll go to the point and I will remove the project snapping and create a point right there. So now I can select that line and change the count number of that. So I'll rotate, and here you can see it has a copy option inside rotate, so I will select copy as yes. And now I will rotate as like cat, so it will give me a nice beautiful tipi. So there you have the outlines for tipi structure. Now all you have to do is create a cylinder that covers, not a cylinder, create a cone that covers the cloth side of the tipi. So I will create a cylinder from here. You can create a loft if you want to, no problem. So the base of the cylinder is here, the radius would be like this, and I will make the cylinder like this. So now you have the canvas for the tipi. You can select the structures and make them pipe if you want to. I will do that, and the radius for the pipes, in my opinion, could be 1 inches. That be 2 inches pipes, and I could kind of make them go inside the railing bit so that both the logs are of the same material. So I'll change their object layer, and for the tipi I will create an opening. Now to create an opening for the tipi, I'll isolate the canvas and draw a 2D line in front of the tipi. like this. Select that 2D line, trim out a bit of the tipping. So that should work. And if I wanted to create the opening just on one side, I will take that front, get that line, and then trim. And that should do the job. Now I unisolate my tippy and the structures, select all of them, and make a group. And here we have a nice little tippy. And let's see it in the perspective and drag it into its correct position. And I think that does it. That's nice. That's not so bad. Let's rotate it for the sake of directionality, like that. Here we have a really nice tippy. Now the last bit of our 3D design is creating the fence. It's a chainmail fence, and we will not worry about the trees and other ground cover materials. We will do all of those inside Lumion. So for the fence, I'll just draw a polyline out of the boundary line that I drew previously, and now go to the front, isolate that line if nice. So I'll isolate that. Now I will create the basic elements of the fence. I'll just create a rectangle that is of 1 inches by 1 inches. Extrude that to a height of 2.5 feet, and then take it inside the fence material layer. So I think I had that somewhere. Boundary, I guess. Yes, it's right there. Change object layer, go to the top and array. So array, I'll select the object first and then array with curve, and the number of items will be somewhere around, for me I guess let's say 50. Is that too much? It's too little. I'll change that a little to 75. So that was from me. Now I will draw a single rectangle of 1 inches by 1 inches right there, and sweep it with the curve. So sweep 1, I'll select the rail, select the cross-section curve, and oops, I have to move it into the correct place first, like that. And let's see, go to the top, it's way out, so I will bring it to where it belongs. Right there would be nice, and then sweep. So I'll select nothing, let's sweep, select that rail, and then go to the form, select the cross section curve. Now I have the sweep, and now I will change the layer of that one again to boundary railing. Copy that by pressing Alt and pressing onto that arrow, 2.5 feet. And I will have to array again, I guess, for the upper part of 6 inches. So I will go to the front and then scale it down a little. And this time it will be half of the number that I arrayed previously. So I will have to select that line first, or not, array curve. I'll select the object first, then select that path curve. For some reason I can't seem to be able to find it, so I can drop that again, or I could isolate that curve and that element like that, and I will delete that one now. So I will go to the top, array curve, I will select that object, select that object, and then select that curve and change the number into something lesser, like 50 or so. That should do the trick. I'll also move that item a bit up. That gives a nice sense of fence that we can see in CDRC. Now you can trim landforms, but I will not do that because I like a nice sense of continuity here and there, so I'll keep it as it is. So we have our playground inside Rhino. Now it's time to render. Now before I take anything to Lumion, I would have to clean some things up, so I will turn off my reference layers all at once, and we're set to export. I could also, for the sake of removing a bit weight off, I will kind of select all of the curves, set them inside the line drawing layer like that, and hide those lines. That way all we have are 3D surfaces. Now all we have to do is file, export, or export selected. We don't have export directly, so, and keep those inside our desired folder. Like that. So one thing to be kept in mind is that we could use various types of files for importing in Lumion. My usual go-to would be the Collada file, which is right there. It's a .da format. It's the very basic kind of native file format for Collada, but you could also use the SketchUp format, and it's right there. And if you export it to SketchUp, you have some editability in SketchUp as well, so it's up to you, whatever you want. I will export this as a Collada file like that, and I'll name it CDRC Lumion export. Alright, it has exported. Now I will open up Lumion and I'll create a new file like that. So it is a plain file. I will try to import a new model. You can see it has different file types, but in my experience I have seen that Collada and SketchUp files work best as they contain some material data. So I will go there, go to the file where I saved it, and import that DAE file right into Lumion. It will kind of try to set its default folder. I'll set it as default folder. If you want, you can set it into different categorized folder and then press OK. So it will import all your file, and if you cannot see it, it's because it was not in your origin, but once you have set it up and have found it, it works just fine. And sometimes you have to kind of get it up a little like that, because some of your recessed ground plane might not show Or you can basically change the landform inside Lumion if you want. So you could do that like that. Oops, it's the other way around. Undo and lower, just like that. That works nicely. And now all you have to do is assign materials and work with the base files. Be very thorough with your model and be sure of any intersection with the ground plane. And now if you have everything alright, all you have to do is just assign different materials in different objects. So for the ground, I will go inside various and assign a 3D grass for this one, which is a little wild, but I really like that grass. But if you want, you can have a little less wild grass or turf, or have a very trimmed one you're liking. And you can change different parameters once you are inside that grass. Just double click on it and change different parameters, like so. Change the bend force, change the scale, change grass length if you want, and I think that's nice. So I'll keep that. Always save your files, otherwise it will crash. So I will cdrc Lumion and save. Now I will go into the build space once again and set up different materials. I will change the material of the turf as well, of the overall Lumion turf. So I will go to the landscape grass and set up a 3D grass. It doesn't match, but it won't matter. But if you want it to match, you could always go inside material, select that material, go back, go to new, and set it as a landscape material. Now they are almost seamless. But for close-up shots, I actually like the other grass, so I will go there and set it up like that. So there you have your 3D grass, which in my opinion looks not so bad. Now for the path, it's a concrete path for me, so I will select that, go to the outdoor portion right here, go to the concretes and set up one rough concrete, I guess. That's not the one. You might have to tweak it time to time. This could work. Let's keep it that way, or we could always go back. This is also nice. I'll keep that one. I really like that one. Now I'd have to, you can see that our mulch material is covered by grass. That is because I have not lowered down the landscape part of Lumion. So I will do that. You may have to do this time and time over again because nothing is perfect the first time. So I will just do that. That works. And now I will create a mulch material. So I will select the mulch portion, go to various, go to soil. I think it's inside the soil. Yes, there's a mulch. I think that is actually a soil, but that really looks like mulch, so you can work with that. But you can always try to find out a different material if you want to, or you could always go to the textures.com right here. I really recommend opening up account inside textures.com. It's free. It gives you 15 credits for free daily. So I will search for mulch. Let's see if I have any. It doesn't have any, so I won't basically take it. This works fine for me, so I will keep that. And now for the gravels, I'll select the gravel portion and go to the various. Again, go to the rocks and try to find out a gravel. It is not actually a gravel, so I will change that once again. with the soil. Let's see if I can find, yes, there are some gravels right there, which are not so bad. Let's keep them that way. I will now change the bridge material into a nice wood material. So I'll go to wood or outdoor portion and see if it works out for me. Not so bad. For a beginner, it's actually not so bad. I will change those as well with woodland materials. I think that works. Gives a nice naturalistic view of the woods. I will change this one into a plastic material like that, and change the color into something a bit less weird, like so. A nice shade of purple looks nice. And for the tipi, I'll give it a fabric material, which is here. That works. No, that does not work. That's weird. That works. Alright. I will not touch those. I will have to change these, of course. And I'll change them to plastic again. A bit glossy plastic, and make them black through colorization, like so. Now for the trees inside Lumion. In my original plan, I had a tree right over here and also over here. So in my mind, I had an apple tree over here and might be a pine or oak over there. So let's try to find those. I'll go to objects, go inside nature and place, and then all I have to do is write down the name. So let's try apple first. There are some nice apple trees. I will draw this one out and keep it right here. This is a nice apple tree, and now I'll try to find a nice pine if I can. So I will try pinyon pine, nothing comes up. Try another pine. I don't really like any of those pine. How about oak? Oaks are nice, and that works, I think. Yes, that is actually not so bad. So I will keep that there. And now for this part, I'll have to give it some shrubs. So one of the most common shrubs in lava could be the yucca. So I'll search for yucca. It does not give me red yucca, but there is false yucca, so I will place those there. Somewhere to make this one look a bit more realistic, and to hide some of the gravels, I'll place some grasses as well. So I'll end the search. Here you'll find some grasses, and you can place them any way you like. Just keep in mind of the compositional quality, so that they merge with the basic 3D grass that you have planted. Like so. There could be one eastern red bud, so I'll search for red bud or Texas red bud, whatever. Common names sometimes do confuse me. So there's a nice red bud right there. And there could be some nice rocks if you want to. So I'll go for the rocks, give some interesting but nicely shaped rocks like that, so things don't stand. I'm basically trying to soften up this edge, so that would be a good thing to do in your design, so that it may look a bit more realistic, like that. Give different rocks At this point, it's basically eyeballing things and see what's right or wrong. Just like that. So place the objects according to your needs. Like so. Create some different objects as well, so that it doesn't look like you have just copied and pasted different objects. And think of the experience as well while you are doing this, because in the end it's about the human experience. In this case, where the humans are little children who are of preschool age, so try to see through their perspective, what they would like or not. There could be some logs in there, just like that. And some more. Even has a nice variety of different types of models, so try to take advantage of that. There could be some sticks right there. Also, it could be another bridge type of structure, like that log. Feel free to play with everything that you have. That doesn't mean you have to use everything, but it certainly helps to play around. You can also use some basic plants. Let's see. No, that doesn't look good. No, I will just stick with what I have. I'll just give some random grasses here and there to make things a bit more realistic, like that. And some here as well, for the sake of view. And I think that gives us a nice sense of a garden. Let's try with some flowers next. So daisies right there. You can see that you can basically hide some of the glitches of your models by placing some other objects here and there, which could also act as different design elements. There could be some other flowers like lavender or so. The lavender might not grow as nicely as the yucca, but it gives you a nice sense of variation of colors. You could always place some dried leaves under the plants, so leaves are right there. You could just basically scatter different things like so. It gives a nice realistic perspective of the renderings. And under the apple tree, let's try to give an apple. Let's see if we have any apple. Yes, we do. So let's this? I have this right there. And there we have our basic playground with all the elements that we might want to. So that's the modeling part done in Lumion. Now it's time for rendering. In order to render, go to the photo and then set up your cameras first. So create some nice shots that capture your design ideas perfectly. Might have to change the focal length or eye level of your camera, like so, and get that. Create a nice view of the path if you want to. Create a nice view of the bridge if you have any. Obviously the trippy if you want to. And I think that should be it for us. So now I have to kind of give it some effects. So I go inside custom style, make it a bit realistic and see if it works for me. And if it does not, I change different aspects of this render, such as the skies. If I want it to change into something different, I can always go inside these options, but I really like this one for this specific view. Let's go to the other one and see if it works. Feel free to tweak anything if you want to. So I'll make it realistic once again, but I think for this one a nice sunset sky will be really nice. I'll go over the sunset and create a sunset sky. Like so. I will try to change some shadow directions like this, and for this one I think another sky would be nice. So also you can create some precipitation effect or a kind of wet concrete effect with the precipitation. Like for this path I might change it into a wet concrete. So I'll go inside effects and go to the environment or weather, go inside precipitation. You can see it has already made it a bit wet. So I will change some specific things, like I don't want it to be rained. I like it to have an effect that it is a bit fresh after the rain. So I will remove the particle quantity to 0, particle size to 0 as well. And now I will change the precipitation phase to fit my needs of the wetness of the object. You can see the other object has been wet as well. And for this one I will, I think, just change the shadow type and see what works. Let's see if anything else works. Over gusps are not so bad for this one. Let's see. No, I think a nice sunny sky would be the best. So clear that one right there, and I will change the shadow settings a bit, like so. I think that works just nice. So these will be the 3 renders for me. Now all I have to do is press render photos, and if I want to render everything at once, I'll go to the photo set and set my desired screen resolution. So for me it should be desktop for now because I want to save time. And keep in mind, the more resolution you want it to be, the more time it will take. So that's that. So organize and name them and save. So it will render your photos like so. So it gives you a nice photorealistic render to your liking. bright and sharp renders. And there are your renders. Let's see how they are. I will open them and they look not so bad. Alright, so that's it for our Rhino and Lumion. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have.